Hey guys, welcome back to the Piston Show. I'm Kashi Dylan, and as usual, I'll be the host for this video. So if you've clicked on this video thinking that I've driven the Proton eMAS 7, well, I've gotten quite close to it, because the car that you see over here is the newly launched Geely Galaxy E5. And this, my friends, is the car that the Proton eMAS 7 is going to be based on. So what you're going to be seeing with this car is pretty much what we are going to be getting with the Proton eMAS 7. Of course, there's going to be localization and such, and I suspect that in typical Proton templated localization efforts, I would have to say that the suspension of the car is probably going to be different. Obviously, it's going to be a right-hand drive car, so obviously the steering wheel might be different. It has an oblong steering wheel, so I hope they retain that. So you can expect a couple of design updates, maybe newer wheels, updated bumpers and such. But I suspect it's going to be largely the same as well. Again, as far as engineering is concerned, you can expect Proton to do some local R&D, drive it over thousands and thousands, perhaps nudging 1 million kilometers on local roads, which is what Proton always does with all of their Geely products anyway. So you can expect stuff like that, but underneath and inside, expect it to be the same. I'm going to show you what the car is like in this video, but before that, here's a quick acknowledgement of our sponsor and everything that they have to offer. We'll be right back in 60 seconds. This video is brought to you by Berjaya Sompo Insurance. Get Sompo Motosafe by Berjaya Sompo. The less you drive, the less you pay. It's that simple. Choose from 3 different mileage plans with affordable premiums to fit your driving needs. Perfect for those who drive occasionally. Plus, enjoy extra perks like unlimited towing, 100% special perils, and all driver coverages. Ready to drive smart and save big? Switch to Sompo Motosafe today. Head over to Berjaya Sompo Insurance and start saving now. So guys, starting off from the exterior, well, the Proton eMAS 7 is going to be hugely exactly like this car. Of course, there's going to be a Proton badge, and then you can... I'm not quite sure whether Proton will update the bumper, because there's quite a lot of work, but Proton has never shied away from extra work, so that there might be some localization work done for the bumpers. Now, this car over here is a Chinese product. It's a Chinese domestic market product, so it runs on 19-inch wheels, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it runs on 19-inch wheels, where else the Proton eMAS 7, the ones that we've seen here in preview, has run on 18-inch wheels. But there might be different models and such, different variants. So the 18-inch wheels might be for the entry-level model. The 19-inch wheels might be for the top-end spec, the top-end model. Anyway, as far as the design is concerned, it's typically EV. It's a good-looking car. The size of it, well, I would put it someplace, how do I describe this? Maybe closer to a VW Tiguan as such. But the good thing about this car is that it's incredibly spacious. I mean, of course, the boot, you can expect it to be spacious, but check this out. You get a multi-layered storage, and there's just so much of stuff that you can keep at the back over here, which is part of the Galaxy E5's appeal. Now though, we go step inside. Well, even though this white leather always looks good, always looks great in whatever car, the thing about this is, over the long term, it's going to be an absolute disaster to manage, because it's just after days and days of usage. Look at it, it's already turning a little bit, black or brown or such. So this is something that Proton might change. I'm not quite sure. There's something that I hope they change, in fact, because as good as it looks from an ownership perspective, this white leather is going to be an absolute disaster to maintain over the long run. But just as a side note, check out how spacious the back seats are. I'll jump in that later. Let's go check out the front seats. Let me just make this a little bit more comfortable for myself. And this are the Flyme sound system. This looks really good. And just off the top of my head right now, the one thing that I can tell you is that the interior of the E5, wow, I can just describe it as wow. It's a very nice place to be in, no doubt. And this is actually your selector, something like the ones that you'll find in a Mazda CX-5, or perhaps even a BMW, like the BMW iDrive systems and such. This is what it's supposed to do, even though that you can control most of these things from the infotainment screen over here, which is over 15 inches. So the thing is, what Geely has explained to us earlier is that sometimes you don't need to take your eyes off the road. You can just, use the rotary dial to sort of control the main controls, like I'm guessing this is the sound system and such. This is the audio volume. So that's great. And check out how fast everything responds. The processing, the Flyme processor for this car is it's supposed to be really good, and it definitely seems that way. I'm not sure what this means, but just bear with me. Or I'm guessing it says need local Wi-Fi connection, which I do not have. Check out the 360 cam. This is actually a 540 camera. So this is your front, this is your front side, this is your back side, this is your aft, your rear view and such. So this is just fantastic, actually, to be honest. The quality of the camera, and most of this stuff I do not understand. As I told you earlier, this is a Geely Galaxy E5, which is basically what the Proton eMAS 7 is going to be based on. So this will give you a good indication on the amount of localization that needs to be done. So the steering wheel and oblong steering wheel will obviously have to be there. I hope they retain the oblong steering wheel over here. It not only looks cool, it feels really nice in your hands as well. So I hope they retain the steering wheel. I understand that they'll need to put a Proton brand over here, Proton emblem. That's fine, that's great. Just I hope that they manage to retain the Galaxy E5, the oblong steering wheel of the Galaxy E5. And then besides that, over here, one thing that I really hope that Proton does in their localization efforts is that I hope they fix this. You see, you press this up for the window to go down, and you press it down for the window to go up. This is completely counterintuitive, because I've driven hundreds and hundreds of cars, and the only other car that has this is the Leapmotor C10. To all Chinese engineers and Chinese designers, you really don't need to reinvent the wheel to stand out from the crowd, because pressing this down to open the window is just how things are supposed to be. You don't put the gear in drive just to go backwards, or put it in reverse to drive forwards. So why would you do this to the window controls? Now it's just, look at this. If I push this up, the window goes down. If I push this down, the window goes up. I'm just trying to be gentle, I'm trying to be polite, I'm trying to be professional. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But those window switches need to be updated. Oh man, product engineers, product designers and such. Anyway, you get more Geely emblem over here. This will obviously need to be changed as well. These are your keys. This is how it's going to be looking like. So I guess that might be different for the local product as well. Let me just put this down here. And this trimming might change as well. But even though this looks really good, no doubt about it, the trim inside here looks really nice. And then you get a shade. How do I open this? I'm not quite sure how to open this because everything's in Chinese. So I'm not going to make this video a very long one. But anyway, you get a shade, extends all the way to the back. That's really good. And then you get more storage space. And interesting fact, you get 30 different storage spots in this car. 30. Lebih daripada 30 storage spots all around the car. That is just fantastic. Anyway, you get a button over here to open the glove compartment, which is very much welcomed, because you know, why complicate stuff by putting it in the infotainment screen just to open the glove compartment. Tesla, Volvo, talking about you. Anyway, all in all, it's a very nice, comfortable place to be. And the car has 11 speakers located all around the interior. So with 11 speakers, you got to wonder where they are placed. But interesting fact is that one of those speakers is placed in the headrests of the seats. So I'm not sure if this is going to make it to the Proton, because on a local assembly, you know, perspective, it's going to be quite difficult. So what Proton might do is they might just continue to offer these seats, or they might just remove it altogether to make it easier for local providers to produce this seat. I hope they don't mess it up. I hope they don't continue with this white leather, but I hope that they offer these awesome looking seats. They're super comfortable, and yet they have speakers built into the headrest. Fantastic. I hope they continue that as well. Anyway, let me know if you have any questions about the front seats of this car. I can't tell you much about the menu, but I can tell you that it looks really good. The resolution is brilliant. The speed is fantastic, you know, at how fast things load and such. So in that sense, I'm guessing this tells me there's no USB connected. Let's see if it can tell me, can show me the map. No, this is again a Chinese domestic product. So I'm guessing it will not be able to tell me a lot of things about the car. But here's how fast things load, right? This is really good, really fast, really crisp. The display is brilliant. And oh yeah, another thing that I would like to point out, I'm really grateful for this, you know, meter cluster, digital meter cluster right up ahead of me, because a lot of EVs tend to just give you one screen, and then everything is based in there. Your speedometer, your charge rates, everything, your entertainment is in that one screen, which means you got to take your eyes off the road, and that's just really annoying. So I'm kind of really glad that they have given this digital meter cluster right up ahead, which makes it a lot easier, and you don't have to depend on this. Makes it a lot easier to just, you know, focus on the road up ahead. Now guys, let's go check out the back seats. This I'm really looking forward to. Joe. Back seats. Just as I expected. Check out the amount of leg room at the back over here. Wow, this is just impressive. This is so impressive. The amount of leg space that the Galaxy E5 / Proton eMAS 7 has to offer. This is on an unprecedented level. Just last week, I sat in the Leapmoto C10, and even that was this spacious. But if I'm not mistaken, this feels a lot more spacious than the Leapmoto C10. So this is brilliant, guys. This is just absolutely brilliant. The seats are just really comfortable. They're soft and supple and such. Let's check out what's in here. Cup holders, typical. And rear air conditioning vents. You get 2 USB ports. You get multiple storage holes. And check this out. How do I pull this up? Yeah, I'm quite sure that there is a storage spot. Look, there's storage spots here. There's storage spots underneath here as well. I'm just not sure how to open it, but there's storage spots, storage drawers all over the car. And as a first impression, this is just hugely impressive, guys. Really cool. So first time sitting in the car, as a first impression, well, it feels like a typical EV. Like after you sit down in a bunch of EVs from China, you realize that they all sort of tend to look the same. You have a large infotainment screen and another smaller screen right ahead of you, and it's super spacious. The seats though are really comfortable. During the product presentation, the guys that were presenting earlier said that the seats have like a marshmallow feel to them. I kind of know what they're talking about right now. I kind of understand what they mean. But overall, it feels very nice. It feels like it's properly well built, and this oblong-like steering wheel up ahead of me feels a bit, I mean, looks a bit weird at first, but once you start fiddling around, it sort of really makes sense. And I really like the Fly Me sound system, because they look like they cost $1 million, and apparently they put out about 1,000 watts, which sort of would make this car a moving studio. However, I'll reserve my opinion on that for later, because I'm about to hit the Proton test track. I've driven on this track many times in the past, 15-20 years, without giving too much away in terms of my age. But yes, driven many times, but it's the first time I'm going to be driving this counterclockwise. So today, my friends, is going to be an interesting day. So the car that we are driving today is the single motor variant. This puts out roughly about, if I'm not mistaken, about 272 PS and such. And we do not know much in terms of what Proton is going to be offering for the local market as yet. But I do know that the Geely E5 comes in two different variants. One is this, and one has a bigger battery, if I'm not mistaken. So as a first impression, I mean, of course, being an EV, it's very responsive, throttle feel is almost immediate, and suspension is soft and supple, just as you would like it to be. However, driving it on a test track is not always a good indication of how the suspension feels like, because test tracks are always, you know, prim and proper and smooth and such. So driving it later on the road will probably give us a better feel of how it feels like. And but right now, as a first impression, it's really nice. I mean, you do get a bit of tire roar that intrudes back into the cabin, but that is to be expected. And I'm not quite sure which tires are going to make it for the Malaysian eMAS 7, but from what I gather right now, it seems very promising. So I'm done driving the Geely E5 at the track, the Galaxy E5, and now I'm waiting to drive it on the road. But before I do that, I just want to show you this car over here. This is an interesting Galaxy E5, because even though it is still very much an E5, you'll notice that it's actually quite dirty. That is because this Galaxy E5 was actually driven to Malaysia from China through Laos and such, and it went through, as you can see, some muddy hell, because let's not forget that there was a typhoon going on along the way, and multiple challenges and such. So what this basically means is that if you want to, you can basically drive your Geely Galaxy E5 / Proton eMAS 7 to China if you would like to do so. And the thing about this car is, what this showcases is the capability of the Galaxy E5 / Proton eMAS 7. Now, just as a reminder, there are going to be, even though there's only a single variant that we are driving today, the single motor variant, there's going to be two variants, one with a 49.52 kilowatt hour battery with a CLTC range of 440 kilometers, and then another long range version with a 60.22 kilowatt hour with a CLTC range of 530 kilometers, which I suspect is this model over here. And Geely usually doesn't specify charging time, but from my research and what's available online, I found out that for the to charge the regular 49.52 kilowatt hour battery, it'll take you 20 minutes with a DC charger to charge from 30 to 80%, and 9 hours on an AC charger to charge from 10 to 100%. And if you have the bigger battery, it'll take you about, the smaller battery, it'll take you about 7.5 hours with an AC charger. So this is the single motor, the Galaxy E5 comes with a single motor that is placed up front that produces 218 PS and 320 Newton meters of torque with a 0 to 100 km per hour time of 6.9 seconds, and it has an incredible consumption of 11.9 kilowatt hour of electric that's consumed every 100 kilometers. So as far as the numbers suggest, the Proton eMAS 7 is going to be pretty incredible, except that it does not have an 800 volt architecture. So that is where I suspect that the lead motor C10 is probably going to have a slight advantage over the Proton eMAS 7. But I also suspect that the lead motor is going to be slightly more expensive than the Proton eMAS 7 / Galaxy E5. But all in all, it's promising to be quite a capable EV. As you can see, it has accomplished quite an impressive world tour. I'm not exactly sure if they can call it a world tour, more like a regional tour. But the fact that it accomplished driving from China all the way here to Kuala Lumpur, that is quite something. Now though, we go drive the car on our Malaysian roads and find out what it's like. Loyalty programs are great, but don't you just hate it when you lose the card or you forget to bring it and then you end up losing out on all those points? Well, BHPetrol has an ingenious solution to it. Rather than coming up with a card, they have launched the BHPetrol e-card application, and it's available in both Android as well as for iPhones. What this does is you basically pour as you normally would, pick up the receipt and simply scan it. You get 1 point for every litre that you spend, and it has a lot of exciting products that you can actually trade your points in for. Right now, with BHPetrol's e-card loyalty program, I don't have to worry about losing my card or even losing out on my loyalty points, making BHPetrol's e-card loyalty program the right choice. So now driving the Geely Galaxy E5, well, it sort of reveals a couple of things about the car which I didn't quite notice while driving it on track earlier. Such as the fact that the A-pillar over here is not as big as perhaps what I'm used to. One thing's for sure, that it's much slimmer than my personal CX-5. So that just makes it feel like you can look around and your view is not hindered. So it makes it feel more spacious of sort in here as far as your vision goes. So that is something that I really like. And then besides that, I really like the suspension. It's, as I mentioned earlier in the video when driving this car on track, is that it's quite soft. This is something that we have seen with other Chinese car makers as well. One thing about Chinese cars is that their suspension tends to be a little bit on the softer, maybe borderline plusher side. So I remember I attended a product preview once on a Chinese car brand. It was an EV brand, and they said that Chinese buyers tend to prefer softer suspension. So that is quite evident here in this E5 as well. However, I suspect that Proton is going to localize the suspension a bit. Proton is known for, having really nice handling cars. And the thing about having softer suspension is you tend to sacrifice a little bit on control. When we were merging onto the highway earlier, there was a noticeable body roll. So that is something that, well, it's all speculation for now, but I suspect Proton is going to work on that. The other thing that I really, really hope that Proton fixes is the window panels, is the window controls, because as I was pointing out earlier as well, to put the window down, you have to actually push the switch upwards, and to put it up, you have to push the switch downwards. It's completely counterintuitive, and Proton is going to localize this car to be the eMAS 7, and I hope Proton, if you're listening to this, please fix this. And then the other thing about the E5 is that it has a single motor which is mounted on the front axle, effectively making it a front wheel drive car. So this is a car that is, well, built for comfort, spaciousness, and somewhat range as well. So again, as I was showing you earlier in the video of the car that actually drove from China all the way here, if you really wanted to, you could actually drive this car to China, as what the Geely team has already demonstrated. In fact, the very car that we are seated in right now actually came from China as well. This was actually part of the cars that made the journey over here. And after having spent some time behind the wheel, it kind of does not really feel like it. It still feels like practically brand new. So having a single motor at the front with 218 PS and over 300 Newton meters of torque, well, it does the 0 to 100 in 6.9. So if you're buying an EV because you like the explosive power that comes with it, you might be somewhat disappointed, because the Geely E5 and in association the Proton eMAS 7 is not going to have that. What you are definitely going to have is some very impressive refinement in here. So refinement is definitely good. Suspension is on the softer side. The underpinnings of this car, such as the charging times, the single motor, and the performance, is basically going to be the same between these two cars. So as far as that goes, as I said, explosive acceleration, you're not going to get much of that, but what you are definitely going to get is a really comfortable car, and one that comes with incredible refinement as well. I just got done driving the Geely Galaxy E5, which is poised to become the Proton eMAS 7, Proton's first ever electric vehicle. So it has all the bells and whistles that you would want in an EV. In fact, it also comes with a level 2 advanced autonomous advanced driver aid system. It has basically everything that you would want. How much do you think should Proton price this car at? And it looks really good too, there's no doubt. Check out this brake lights. So in that sense, I believe that Proton has a definite winner in their hands. And now it's just a matter of pricing. Would Proton do well with if they priced it between 120 to 140k? Let me know in the comment section below. As usual, thank you for watching. Do consider subscribing.